I'm going to give you a breakdown of the Week 5 NFL matchup between the Atlanta Falcons and the Houston Texans, and we're starting right now. What is going on? My name is Alpha Omega. Welcome to another video. If this is your first time here and you want to learn how to bet on sports like a pro and gain an edge over the sports books, start now by subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. In 2019, the difference between the playoff caliber teams and the teams playing for a high draft pick has been difficult to quantify. Outside of the obvious excellence of the Patriots and the Chiefs, as well as the atrocious play of the Dolphins and the Redskins, the status of the rest of the league in relation to playoff contention is up in the air. In Week 4, the previously unbeaten and seemingly dominant Cowboys went down to the Teddy Bridgewater-led Saints, a game which I covered in one of last week's videos, and a game that made me a lot of money by betting on the Saints to cover the spread. The New York Giants are now 2-2. The Lions nearly beat the Chiefs. The Rams got beat by Jameis Winston. I spent some time in my Week 1 video detailing how Todd Gurley's degenerative knee would cause issues for the Rams offense going forward. The Bears lose starting quarterback Mitchell Trubisky and played better without him. Not a big surprise there. The Raiders are 2-2, another correct prediction I made prior to the start of the season. And the Steelers are showing some fight after losing Big Ben early in the season. While you may know all of this already, my point is that in the world of sports betting, what appears to be obvious is often what is most deceiving, and relying on wacky trends that hold no actual predictive value or placing too much value on your own thoughts and instincts without using predictive analytics will inevitably lead you to becoming a consistent losing bettor. The good news is now that we are 4 weeks into the 2019 NFL season, there is enough available data to demonstrate predictive value. Basically what I'm saying is that now is the time to start making larger wagers on these games, and by signing up with me you can turn hundreds into thousands overnight, starting in Week 5 of the NFL season, but more on all that later. The Alpha Omega Vegas consensus line has the Texans favored by 5 points after being bet up almost immediately from the opener of 3.5, with a total sitting steady at 49. Implied odds mean based on the current moneyline odds, what is the projected implied probability of victory? Basically, it's the chances of victory expressed as a percentage. In this case, Vegas is saying the Texans have a 69% chance of winning the game outright, with the Falcons having a 35% chance of pulling off the upset. Using my base power rankings, I have the Texans favored by 3 points and the total at 44. But remember, my base power rankings are only the starting point if you want to make money betting on the 2019 NFL season. The Houston offense has some of the most electric playmakers in the NFL, with DeAndre Hopkins being one of, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL, and Deshaun Watson creating magic on a weekly basis. And if not for the fact that Watson is playing during the same time period as Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson would be the best young quarterback in football. The issues with the Texans offense and the main reason why Houston lost to the Panthers last week is the play calling of Bill O'Brien. When O'Brien was brought in to be the head coach of the Texans, it came with a reputation that he was a good offensive mind, and in 2019, the offensive play calling by Bill O'Brien often doesn't make sense. It is surprising and frustrating to see that after 6 seasons as head coach, things like Watson holding the ball for too long or keeping the quarterback protected have not been addressed or corrected. Another significant issue is the play of the offensive line. Deshaun Watson has been sacked 18 times in 2019, which ranks 3rd out of all NFL quarterbacks. Watson was sacked 6 times in Week 4 alone. If an opposing team can rush the passer effectively, the Texans are in trouble. We will discuss the Falcons' defense in just a moment, but thankfully for Deshaun Watson, the Falcons are not one of those teams. The keys for the Texans offense is Deshaun Watson not holding onto the ball too long, the offensive line protecting Watson long enough to complete his passes, Bill O'Brien not trying to do too much, and the Texans wide receivers taking advantage of the Falcons' lack of pass defense. If the Texans are able to accomplish these goals, Houston will cover the spread and win the game. What makes the Falcons an interesting defensive team is the amount of talent Atlanta possesses and how difficult it has been for the Falcons to gel as a defensive unit. A simple fact that is rarely talked about is the Falcons haven't been the same team since Atlanta's soul-crushing loss in Super Bowl 51 to the Patriots. The Falcons have continued to stack defensive talent, but remain unable to produce a defense capable of stopping teams from scoring. When Marcus Mariota dismantles your defense, it's time to be concerned. If there is a bright spot on this Falcons defense, it's in the interior of the defensive line generating pressure on opposing quarterbacks far more than in 2018. And going up against the Texans offensive line that has been inconsistent at best, this may be the Falcons' best chance of disrupting the Texans offense as a whole. The issue for Atlanta's defense is the poor play by the secondary. Relying on the Falcons defense to shut down DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, and Kenny Stills, if Stills is healthy, is a tall order for Falcons defensive backs and linebackers who have frankly just not played well in 2019. The keys for the Falcons defense is getting pressure on Deshaun Watson, shutting down the Texans' running game, which will force Houston to become one-dimensional and limit the explosive plays by the Texans' wide receivers. If the Falcons are able to accomplish these goals, Atlanta will cover the spread and win the game. Before I continue with the betting guide, if you are enjoying the video and if you feel like you're getting good information that can help you gain an edge over the sportsbooks and make smarter sports wagers, make sure and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can stay updated with the latest sports betting content from me, professional sports handicapper Alpha Omega. Also, make sure and click the link in the description of the video, check out my website, and sign up for a sports betting package. I literally break down sports information and make my living based on that information every day. I take all of the sports data I can find, I factor all of that data into mathematical betting models to make my picks, and I send you the same picks that I bet on myself. I have packages for every level of sports bettor, from a beginner who is just coming into the sports betting world to the expert bettor who just needs that extra edge to take them to the next level. Make the smart decision and sign up with a professional today. In the past, the Texans defense was known for being an elite unit with playmakers stacked on all three levels of the defense. However, when you look at the 2019 Texans defense, statistically the team is about league average against both the run and the pass. The Texans have produced 13 sacks this season, which ranks tied for 4th in the AFC and 6th overall in the NFL. The Falcons' offensive line and Matt Ryan holding onto the ball too long will provide the Texans' defense with plenty of opportunity for sacks. And while I do not generally give much weight to trends, the Texans have forced a turnover in 17 straight games, currently the longest streak in the NFL. And considering the horrendous play of the Falcons' offense, which we will discuss momentarily, the Texans should continue that streak against Atlanta. The keys for the Texans defense will be putting pressure on Matt Ryan, which will force the Falcons QB to make poor decisions and stop the Falcons running game. If the Texans accomplish these goals, Houston will cover the spread and win the game. The Falcons are arguably the most talented offense in the league on paper, yet currently the Falcons are in last place in the NFC South. One of the many problems for the Falcons offense is the continued decline of Devonta Freeman, averaging only 3.3 yards per carry this season, a career worst. The lack of an efficient running game is forcing the Falcons offense into becoming one-dimensional, and with the poor play on the part of Atlanta's defense, the Falcons offense is often playing from behind, which again forces the offense to become one-dimensional. Unfortunately for the Falcons, the passing offense isn't finishing enough drives with touchdowns, a continuing issue for the Falcons since the Super Bowl loss. The one area where the Falcons offense holds the superiority is the vulnerability of the Texans secondary against Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Mohamed Sanu, one of the top receiving corps in the NFL. The keys for the Falcons offense will be establishing some form of a running game which will open up the Falcons' elite passing attack, Matt Ryan making good decisions, and the Falcons wide receivers taking advantage of their matchups against the Texans secondary. If the Falcons accomplish these goals, Atlanta will cover the spread and win the game. The margin of victory in this game will be determined by the Texans' offensive line giving Watson enough time to throw, the Falcons' defense shutting down the Texans' running game, which will force Houston into becoming over-reliant on the pass, the Texans' defense putting pressure on Matt Ryan, which will create opportunities for the Texans' defense to cause turnovers, and the Falcons' wide receivers taking advantage of the Texans' vulnerable secondary for touchdowns. Whichever team accomplishes their team goals will cover the spread and win the game. Okay guys, that's the video. Let me know what you think. If you feel like you're gaining information that will help you in your sports betting, or if you have questions, make sure and let me know in the comments. And remember, we are now in week 5 of the 2019 NFL season. And with the accumulation of 4 weeks of data, my NFL analytics and mathematical predictions will have me sending out a lot more of my max unit wise guy plays. So if you want to find out how a pro bettor makes money and you want to start making money too, make sure and head over to my website and sign up for one of my sports packages. And remember, whether you're an everyday bettor who needs a consistent way to increase and grow your bankroll, or whether you don't even understand what a bankroll is and sports betting just became legal in your state, I have a package that will work for you. So click the link in the description and sign up now. And if you want to stay updated with all the latest sports betting guides across all major sports, start now by hitting the round subscribe icon so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.